Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's live. Good Monday morning. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Okay, so what's the subject for today? Well, as you know, if you've been watching me for any time at all, there are a lot of different waivers that you can get under immigration law. And regardless of what kind of waiver you need, the bottom line is with businesses, it's easier to get the waiver approved. So I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to let you know more or less the path that you could take to give you a better chance of success of getting into the U.S. Okay? That'll be my spiel for today. And then what I'll do is I will go back, I will look at any of the questions that you put. And if anybody wants a consult during this consultation, during this live, put that's what you want, and I'll click to invite you. And of course, you understand that there's no attorney-client privilege because we're live, okay, in public. So that's up to you if you want to do that. Okay. So let's get to it. So the business waiver, or the waiver that you can do, let's just say it's fraud. Okay, let's say it's fraud. Fraud waivers are never easy to get approved. So I have people who have committed fraud and who have either been deported or done the permissions to re-enter, and they want to come back. They say, can I just get a visitor visa and come back with a waiver? I say, well, theoretically you can, but the fact is, if you, for example, do a visitor visa, a B2, with a fraud waiver, your chances of getting that approved are much lower than if you come in on a business visa. That's just a reality. Why? Well, first of all, the U.S. likes when you do business visas because it helps the economy, it brings more employment, it brings more investment, it also has various issues regarding dual intent depending on what kind of business visa you get. So, for example, if you get an an L1, which is an intercompany transferee visa, that's where you have a company that's overseas and you get a company or branch office here in the U.S., then you could literally apply for the green card at the exact same time you're applying for an L1, and it doesn't matter that you have the law says you have dual intent. So, of course, you need a waiver, but the intent issue is not an issue because, like with a B2, you definitely have to prove non-immigrant intent. So, all the more reason if you came in and you committed some kind of fraud and then you were deported and or left and are subject to different other bars, the chances of them believing you're just going to come in, visit Disneyland, and leave again are very small. However, if that intent issue does not exist, you don't even have to argue your intention to leave. Okay? So that's the first thing. And secondly, the business visa itself, because it brings so much more into the U.S. than you just coming in, visiting, saying hi and goodbye. The scrutiny, and there might be people who disagree with this, but through 30 years of experience, I can tell you, the scrutiny of the waiver is a bit less with a business visa, meaning that you want to really stress the business visa, and then of course you do the waiver and try to tie it in so that it makes you seem like a really good person. There was just a bad day or something. Okay. I mean, there's all kinds of ways of showing it. Okay. So what are the kinds of business visas that you can come in on that will give you a better chance? And again, I said fraud, but let's say you committed a crime. You're inadmissible because of some crime. So there's the E2. If you come from a treaty country, that's where you invest in your own business. There's the E1, which is treaty trader. That's from different other countries, whereas you trade with your country and the U.S. There's the L1. Okay, I already spoke a little bit about that. That's where you get a branch office in the U.S. Okay, and you run two different offices, or you're a specialized knowledge employee. There is the kind of business related visas where it's not running your own business, but you need to have a decent amount of education, knowledge, experience, and so forth to get it. They're not easy to get. So one would be like the H-1B, that's specialized knowledge, and again H-1B with the waiver. Okay, if you want to know the numbers, and non-immigrant waiver is the 212D3 waiver. Okay, that is the bottom line. Now, you're not going to be able to just pop onto Google or ChatGPT and go, give me a 212D3 waiver, because there's no real specified format for doing the waiver. What does that mean? Well, on one hand, it's a bit open, so you have more flexibility. On the other hand, because it's a bit open, it's a little more ambiguous as to how they might rule. Okay? So don't even think of doing the waiver until you have the visa ready to go. And again, if you have a choice of which visas to get a business-related visa. So again, we did the H-1B. That's, where you have a college degree and it requires it. You could do a TN if you're from Canada or Mexico, kind of like an H-1B. But still, if you're inadmissible, you still need the waiver. I've had people in the past, like from Canada, who are inadmissible, and they go, I'm from Canada, so I don't need a waiver. And I've had to tell them that's not true. Okay, there's nothing in the law that says if you are a Canadian citizen applying for a TN, that if you're inadmissible, the U.S. will automatically forget about it and let you in. I mean, number one, think of the unfairness of that. Okay, if you commit some crime in Canada and they just let you in versus, Africa, why would that be? That would just be unfair. So that's that. Okay. There's the H-2B. That's not as businessy as the other ones I've been talking about. Those are temporary related visas. But then there's the H-3, training visa, where a lot of businesses will hire someone on, not hire, but bring someone in on an H-3 on a training plan in order to try to get them to learn whatever it is so that they can use it back in their home country. So the bottom line of what I'm saying is that if you are inadmissible for whatever reason, crime, fraud, medical, public charge reasons, unlawful presence, I could go on. There's a lot of grounds. And you want a better chance of coming into the U.S., do a business visa. Now, obviously the business visas cost more money and attorney's fees and time. They're not as easy as just trying to come in and, go see the Statue of Liberty and then leave. But ultimately, you want to come in, right? So if your choice is, come in on a non-business visa with a waiver with a considerably less chance of success than a business visa and waiver, well, a lot of people will choose the better way to go, okay? So that, in essence, is the spiel for today, okay? I expanded a little bit to give you a better feel for what I'm talking about. But the reality is, if you get deported, you're inadmissible, and you want to just come back, don't think just because you looked on the internet and you saw that all you need to do is a non-immigrant waiver and you're back, that it's quite that easy. Okay? All right. Let us go see what questions, if any, we have. It is early and it is Monday. So, all right. Let's see what we have. We have Brad, who got the #1 gifter badge. Okay. Let me just scroll down here. Okay. Well, Sereno, you say, can I ask you something? It's too long to type. I mean, how are you going to ask me if you don't type it? Okay. Um, you got to give me some idea. You know, in law school, when you're a first year law student, one of the first thing they teach you in the legal writing class is how to condense what you want to say so that you can say it coherently in a shortened fashion. Because everybody who comes in to law school in the beginning, they'll go on and on and on and on. And even green lawyers, ones that even pass the bar but are new lawyers, they will write briefs that have irrelevant stuff in there. Okay, and it takes a while for an attorney to be able to be at a point where they can make a really good legal argument in a succinct fashion. Okay, that takes a lot of years of experience. So I bring this up because when you say, can you type something, or can you ask something that's too long to type, I suspect there's a way of putting it very succinctly. You just have to work it a little bit, okay? But if you can't hear, then contact my office. I'll give you a consultation. That's for Sereno, okay? I mean, Serena, you like the live, so I want to answer your question. Give me an idea. I'm scrolling down, so Serena, if you're still there, just type what it is, just briefly. I'll go on a little bit, okay? But I understand why you might not want to either. It might want to be a more of a thing that you want attorney-client privilege. In which case, email me, call my office, okay? All right. Let's see. Okay. There's a minute. I'm scrolling to see what questions we have. Just a minute. Okay. Okay. This is from okay. You say, is law school hard? Well, I think you know the answer to that. I think anybody who's been alive knows the answer to that. Of course it's hard. It's super hard. What I think what you're really asking is, okay, you might be thinking about going to law school. And people have asked me that over the years, like people who are considering going in, and I ask myself, well, should I be totally honest with them? Because if I am, they're probably never going to want to go. Do I, tone it down a lot, not being real truthful, so when they get in, they're like hit on the side, with the reality of it. So the bottom line is law school is very difficult. But you have to be driven to want to do it. Okay. There's a lot of people that go into law school thinking it's going to be kind of like college where you can just breeze by, and they're sadly mistaken. So if you're a hard worker and if you are driven to make it happen, then you'll do it. Don't go in there to law school with the unrealistic view that it's not hard. That's not the issue. Okay? That's like saying, is it hard to climb Mount Everest? Okay, well, of course it is. But if you prepare and if you train and if you have the proper equipment and if you have your mindset to it, you can do it. Okay? So, okay, tell me in 3 years if you went and how it went, all right? Okay, I think you need to change your name because it's hard to say a sentence where people understand them speaking to you when I say okay. Okay? All right. Let's see. Let me just scroll down here. Let's see. Okay, 17-year-old stepson was on an original green card application when denied. 8 years later, won on appeal. Well, that's great. I mean, that's not a question. So if you have a question, let me know. But that's good. That shows you in immigration law a couple things. One, it takes a long time. Okay? That's why I always find it humorous where somebody filed something and 3 months later they wonder why it's not approved. And secondly, especially with immigration law, sometimes you have to fight a few battles to win the war. That's the reality. You have to be prepared to lose 1 or 2 or 3 times. And I'm not saying you always win, because that's by far not the case. But sometimes you do have to lose a few times to get up to the appellate level that gives you enough power to be able to change and reverse what could be a bad decision. Okay? So you added one more to it. Exit gave his stepson now eligible because mom won on appeal. Well, I need more information. I need to know what was appealed. I need to know why it was reversed, why it was won. Okay? I mean, it may have helped her, but it may not help him. So I need to have that information. All right? Okay. Well, I think that's going to do it for today's live. Let me just confirm real quick that there's no other questions. Wanted to make sure I got everybody. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for today. I have at the end here from Serena. It says, can I request to join and ask you my question? You can just type your question. That's all you have to do. Just type your question here and I will answer it. Okay? So, and if I sign off before you do that, just email me. Okay? It's blearner@californiaimmigration.us. And it says California immigration, but I do immigration all over the U.S. It's just, and I do it in many countries too. It's just 30 years ago when I started off in California, that's the email I picked. And by the time I got to a point where I was practicing, helping people all over the U.S., it was too hard to switch it because already so many people had it. So there you go. There's the explanation. All right. Okay, so this is Serena. Okay, so I'm asking for my sister-in-law. She's here on a tourist visa and wants to know what type. Okay, so I can tell you what you're asking. This is the one where you said you couldn't type it because there was too much. You want to know what your sister-in-law qualifies for to stay here without having to leave. Okay? You can say she's 18 and fears going back to the Philippines, but just saying that is a world of difference from proving it. I mean, why would an 18-year-old from the Philippines fear going back? Okay? I'm not saying it's not the case, but there's a lot of people out there that, they hear, oh, if they claim asylum, that, that's all they have to do, and then they can stay in the U.S. forever. And that's not the case. If I was representing your sister-in-law, I would first say, why do you fear going back to the Philippines? If she would say something like, well, I don't know, or I can't find a job, or it's difficult, well, she has a surefire loser case, okay? So there's a whole lot of reasons why someone might qualify for asylum. Now, Sal M is asking a different question, but it's kind of related in that you're saying, is being LGBT you mean a particular social group? In my country, it's illegal and wondering about asylum. And the answer is yes. It is possible to get asylum based on being gay. Okay. I've done quite a few of them. Okay. Especially from Muslim related countries, Iran and so forth. And there's other reasons too, but that is now, just so you know, Sal, you don't have to apply just on that basis. Okay, it could be other bases as well. When I'm preparing an asylum, I make sure that I get all the grounds that they might qualify for, because you never know what might be approved. It doesn't matter if one's denied if the other's approved, right? Okay. So, Sereno, back to you. And just from what you're telling me, I honestly doubt that there is a valid asylum case there. Unless, there's been, for example, this 18-year-old is part of some social group that's being persecuted and so forth. So when one comes here on a visitor visa, and she's only 18 years old, the reality is she should probably switch to a student visa. So do a change of status to student. So what she should do, find a school that accepts foreign students. It's not cheap because she'll have to pay out-of-state tuition, but she'll get an I-20. Once she gets the I-20, she can then do a change of status, and if it's done properly, she'll be able to get a B2 to F2 and change. Okay? And Sal, it's great your partner will come to testify at the next hearing. Keep in mind that because this person is your partner, the credibility may not be as significant as if you had, for example, an expert testify as to the LGBT community and the persecution in that country. Okay? I'm not saying that your partner shouldn't come. Your partner definitely should. But don't rely only on your partner. Okay? All right. Sal, if your DH lawyer, the DH lawyer did not believe you're gay. That's amazing. You say you were astonished. I agree. In 30 years, I've never had a DHS lawyer that, I'm not sure how this DHS lawyer didn't believe you. I mean, I know with the Trump thing and, some DHS lawyers are being overtly aggressive in denying things, and they're doing things that are unprofessional, such as this. I mean, let's say, for example, Sal, that you were married in a heterosexual relationship and had 13 kids. And then you came to the U.S. and claimed you're gay and wanted asylum. Okay. In that particular case, yeah. I mean, it's not believable. Okay. So it's a little difficult without knowing the facts of your case or exactly what the DHS lawyer said or did that would lead to that. But if your lawyer is a good lawyer, a record will be kept so that if it gets denied because of that, you'll appeal, and there's appealable issues in regards to that. Okay. Alrighty. All right. Well, Sereno, I guess I will see you in a consultation on Thursday. Good for you. All right. Well, I've got consults I got to get to. So everybody enjoy the rest of your Monday. And until the next live.